in this situation, triple the amount of commission that we would have made just selling it. Our model is charge more and do more. You have to change your perception on what people will pay, and like what you might not pay, somebody else will. I have a responsibility to the client to maximize their financial potential, right?
All right, we are good. It's starting. We got people coming in. All right, perfect. Well, it's nice to see you again.
Oh, there he is.
Well, there we go. There's Shawn. And can you hear us?
Hey, yeah, sorry, I just had to do an update there.
All good. All
Sometimes
right.
that's how that goes.
You got the AI camera all set up?
The one that follows me, yeah.
Yeah. I had one of those, and then the video quality for me it just wasn't good enough for some of the stuff we were doing, and I ended up getting rid of it. But I will say this, the first one they sent me was terrible. And they sent one of those like surveys. I was like, what do you think of it? And I was like, camera quality is awful. Ship me out a new one right away. No questions asked besides me saying that. And they just sent me a new camera.
Was it Logitech one?
No, it was a few years back. It was like the first AI camera that came on the market.
Oh, so I don't know if this is an AI camera.
Yeah.
Or it's called the Rally Bar, the Logitech Rally Bar.
Yeah.
All I know is HP Canada has the same one in their boardroom. I don't know why I know that, but they do. And yeah, it just does a good job. It's probably super overkill, but like, I don't know.
Well, when you're doing it at the big table, it's needed. Whereas like mine, just because I'm never moving, the AI one was overkill for my setup.
Gotcha.
Whereas like, because you have multiple people, then sometimes it can make sense. But yeah, so we're glad to have you here. So
how are you doing, Taylor?
I'm doing really good.
Yeah,
everything's going well. I'm just kind of watching my dog. It's her first time in the studio. She doesn't like it when she can hear me and not see me, so I thought she'd just come in and lay down, but just checking the place out.
Yeah.
Nice.
What kind of dog? I got mine on the other side there.
I have an American bully. She's about 6 months old and about 40 pounds. Quite sweet, actually.
Sweet.
Do you have a dog?
I do. Yeah, I got a little white dog. He's a mix of everything, and we got him from Texas. He was in a kill shelter, and it breaks my heart to think that he was close to being put down, because he's literally the best dog. Every single person that comes and meets him is like, this is the best dog I ever met. I'm like, I know, it's crazy. So yeah, pretty wild.
I love stories like that. Like, I ended up with a buddy who called me. I used to ride and race motorcycles with him, and he called me one day. He's like, can you get to the airport at 7 o'clock? And I'm like, what are you calling me about? Like, what is this related to? Sounds like I'm entering a scene from that Johnny Depp movie Blow, right?
Right.
And he's like, no, man. I just got chased out of like where I was. I didn't know pit bulls were illegal. And people at a dog park were the ones who told me when I had my dog out there, and then the police are looking for me, and I got my truck parked like 6 blocks away from my mom's house, and I barely got my dog to the airport, and you were the guy I thought of, and I put your name on it, and it's coming to you.
So what do they do with the dog? Like, if they get it, they put it down, or?
Yeah, so like where they're illegal, essentially you have to prove by DNA testing or other paperwork that it's not a pit bull. And if you fail to do that, the government reserves the right to either euthanize the dog or sell it for animal testing.
Oh.
Doesn't sound right.
Do you know where I'm referring to?
No.
Ontario.
Really?
That is the law currently in Ontario.
Yeah, it's screwed up.
That's really dictatory.
Now
so my first pit bull was this fugitive that was on the run from the law and came to me by airport, and he was my soulmate. His name was Enzo, and we ended up doing like the style of dog training that police canines do. And he had like 60 commands in English and German. He was my first office dog. Yeah, it was an awesome experience. But I know what you mean, where like they were trying to kill my friend.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So a little housekeeping before we get started. Just because there's a question here. Past episodes will go on the REM YouTube. Eventually, we're going to have it on like an actual formal podcast. I think we're 1 or 2 episodes behind getting it on YouTube. But those are all going to be where it's going to end up living. And as always, if you have questions, and this week, instead of the 2 of us, the 3 of us, if you have questions you want to ask, this is like an interactive thing. So like you can ask any of us a question, all three of us a question, we'll answer them. If you want to jump on camera, we can even promote you to be a panelist while we're recording. You can ask us a question live. So that's the beauty of attending live, is you can ask us anything you want. Now, we'll wait for Taylor to get back, but I have a story now. You guys will appreciate it. So last week I was at NBA Summer League. So that's why I wasn't here on the episode last week. So go to NBA Summer League. And you guys both love customer service, improving the customer experience. So you're going to love this story. So we were walking through, and one of the guys with us ran into someone he knew who has gotten a job with Louis the 13th. Do you know what this is?
No, not at all.
So it's a like sub brand of Remy Martin cognac, but it's like the cheap bottles start at like $5,000. So he was telling us like they don't sell, like they're in the LCBO and liquor, but you don't really sell them there. But they, at every major event, so NBA Summer League being one, where especially there's a lot of wealthy people there, they rent a suite, and that's how they sell them, as they bring people up to the suite and try to sell them there. Now they curate really cool experiences tailored to the audience at every event they go to for the ultra wealthy. And so, for example, this one, they brought out the barber for LeBron, set him up in the suite, and like all of Team Canada, Team USA, all the NBA stars that were in Vegas came to get their haircut. And he would just sit there and do that. And while they were doing that, they would tell them the story of the Louis the 13th bottle, and they'd walk them through it, and then they'd let them sample it, and then they would sell the bottle. And they had bottles there going up to like 50,000 a bottle. And where it was like really well done is like, I'm not like, I love a good whiskey, scotch, stuff like that, and I'm like, I would never pay 5,000 a bottle. I left that being like, yeah, I could pay 5,000 for that bottle. Like,
you should try any.
So this is what was really cool, is he gave us all like a shot. We didn't obviously shoot it, but he gave us all a shot of it. Which if you're at the lobby bar at the Vegas casino that we were at, that would have been like 700 to 1,000 per shot. Wow. And it was very good. But where he kind of gets is like, he had the stories down of like how cool they. So he's like, no person who starts making each of these bottles is alive to see it sold and consumed. Because he's like, the oldest grape in each bottle is 100 years old. The youngest is 40.
Right.
And so you're like talking about that. It's like each individual bottle is so custom made that like no two caps will fit on different ones. They have to put a serial number on every cap and every bottle, so you can always match the lid to the bottle. And then he brought out the glasses that you drink in them, and it's 700 for a glass. Like a single, just the glass to drink it out of is 700. And that, even those are really cool. He's like, so they're done in France, and like where they get the grapes, and there's a lot of sunflowers in the area. So if you pour the whiskey in, then you poured it, or the cognac in, you pour it in. It's like, now look at the bottom of that. And it looks exactly like a sunflower, like the way they built it. And like, it's not even like a abstract thing. Like you look and you're like, that's a sunflower.
Right.
And then the coolest part, he goes, all right, now bang the glasses together with the person next to you for your cheers. And we all kind of do the light ting. He goes, no, like hit it. And he takes his and just smacks someone else with it. And we're all like expecting it to break. Nope. And he goes, that's a perfect G sharp note. They built the glasses that when they bang, a perfect G sharp note then erupts in the room. So then we all started doing it, and it's like that perfect note going throughout the room as you do it. And like the way he explained that, and everyone's like, and then here's where I also thought it was really cool is, yes, you're paying $5,000 for the bottle, but now you're also in their community. So now every major event that they go to, you can get into their suite. And they have these experiences. Pardon?
Once you buy one bottle, that's the deal.
So that, we didn't get into that level of detail, but it kind of enters you into their world.
Yeah.
So like, and I think the more you buy, and as you get to know them, you get involved in more. But like, he at every single major event tries to curate an experience based on the type of the event that's there. And this guy's entire job is just event to event to event, curating the perfect experience for people that are there related to the type of event it is. So he's at like and then they act like a concierge. So like if you're a client and you're like, oh, I'm going to Barcelona next week. You're like, oh, the best restaurant in Barcelona is this place. Let me call them up and get you a spot. So it's almost like that you're buying into a world. And it was like a really cool thing that I was like, I never thought, like, yeah, that makes complete sense. I'm spending $5,000 bottle. It's not just the bottle. It's everything around it. Or like if you're at, Patek Philippe, which is like the highest end one, a lot of their high-end stores, there's a speakeasy in the back that most people don't know about, and that they'll go and host tastings there and invite their clients into the speakeasy because that's where they sell the most. So it's like there's those like luxury storefronts, and then there's even the more exclusive luxury stuff behind it. So it's like curating those custom experiences. And I was like, there's so much here that I can unpack.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about that is, most people will say like, I would never pay that.
Yeah.
Right. But that's okay for them. So I'll give you an example. I was having a deck put on my old house, and I was getting quotes or whatever. And the guy that I liked the best, I told him I want all composite. And he's like, oh, you don't want that. It's way too expensive. I'm like, what I do, because I don't want to have to refinish my deck anymore, right? So it's worth it to me. It might not be worth it to you because you're in the industry and you're like, oh, it takes a day to refinish a deck. And I'm like, a day to me is more valuable selling real estate than refinishing the deck. So it's like you have to change your perception on what people will pay, and like what you might not pay, somebody else will. They see the value in it. They're creating a story. It's something cool. You get this community. And it's absolutely absurd to think about paying $5,000 for some 100-year-old juice, wobbly juice or whatever. But at the end of the day, there are people that will buy it if you confidently sell it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And that is a great way to introduce Shawn Hinchey. So Shawn, you are a real estate agent in Ontario. What area are you serving?
They're a region. So, basically east of Toronto.
And just a few rapid fires for us to get some bearings. How long have you been in real estate?
11 years now.
What model do you run?
Basically, our model is charge more and do more. So our average commission this year is 6%. We charge anywhere from, obviously our flippers and close friends and family will do it 5.5%, but we also just signed up one at 8%. And what we do for those is we facilitate a renovation to complete the house in this case and sell it for more money so everybody makes money. So
anytime we're talking in a venue where there's other realtors and realtors, we're going to have to use different examples for how we exchange value. We're not able to talk about anything related to any percentages.
Okay.
Just to make sure that we kind of stay on board there. So, but this is something that I found very interesting in calls that we had previously, was talking about how you see creating value in real estate. Now, I want to finish getting my bearings, and then I'm going to circle back. So with that, do you run individual agent or a team model now?
No, I have a team model. So
okay, so you're running a team, you're established agent, but the way you see real estate is a little bit different. And the way you put it to me is kind of interesting, where you said that you see your fiduciary responsibilities as being more than just helping somebody sell their house at a listing appointment. Can you kind of expand from there?
So fiduciary duty is I have a responsibility to the client to maximize their financial potential, right? So to me, if I don't offer a service or an option to get the most money out of that house, then I'm not adhering to my fiduciary duty. If it's well within my ability to net that client more money, then I should be offering that. So that's just always been the way my mind works. It's like, it's the same with staging. So the first time I staged a house, it's like, I find a lot of people will say, oh, staging's not worth it. You don't get your money back. Well, I staged one of my own flips, and the second I walked through the door, I was blown away, and I clearly understood that this is worth every penny and more that we paid to have this done. And I don't even feel right not staging somebody's house. So building a big team where, you just do all these massive transactions, massive number of transactions you don't fully prep the house and stage it and everything, but you charge them less, whatever that may be. I'm not interested in that because I don't feel like I'm getting every penny out of that house. So I don't feel like I'm adhering to my fiduciary duty.
See, I found that interesting because that led you into offering renovations as part of your service.
Yes, because let's say, so the house that that I mentioned there, basically they bought it and they were going to renovate it. Some personal things came up. It's like down to the studs right now. So like it's in Toronto. Let's say I sell it the way it sits right now. You're going to need a cash buyer. Nobody can put a mortgage on it. So it's like you have a very small number of people that can buy this house. It's going to be about $350,000 to finish it, but then we're going to sell it for 600 grand more. So it's like an immense amount of risk for me to go in there and facilitate this, but the client's going to make more money. We're going to, in this situation, triple the amount of commission that we would have made just selling it. And the client's still going to profit approximately 80% of the cost of the renovation. So it's a no-brainer. Like this should be facilitated rather than selling the house that's down to the studs and not even finished or inhabitable. And to me, I should be offering that service. That's the value we bring.
I totally understand that. Like I see people that do things like mergers and acquisitions. They help people sell businesses. And one of the first things they do is they come in and measure and start suggesting changes in order to maximize that. They might suggest that they professionalize their business by making some hires. And you're really doing the same thing on the resale side. Like you understand in this case that financing is what makes deals happen. So if you have a property that isn't set up to be financed under regular mortgage rules, meaning that it's not a livable residence right now due to the level of construction it's in, well, that massively opens the window and you're going to get that 1 + 1 = 3.
Yeah, 100%. So at the end of the day, if you think about it, who's this house going to sell to? A flipper, right? More than likely. So they're going to buy the house. They're going to incur land transfer tax, double in Toronto. They're going to incur commission when they sell it. They're going to pay taxes on the money they make on it. They got lawyer fees twice, all the works, right? So I have all of that as a buffer for my client. We don't have to pay any of that stuff, you know? Like he has to pay commission once. There isn't commission being paid twice. There isn't land transfer tax being paid twice. So it's like there's so much room for error here that just like every single person makes money. Obviously, you can get caught in the switch when the market turns. So when we sell this program, we're not making any promises. The client makes a decision based on past performance. And out of about 40 projects, I had 2 people essentially break even. And as a result, we sold their house very quickly in markets that was taking a few months to sell. So it's like we wasted time renovating, 6-7 weeks renovating, but you actually got to sell your house. And because of the market shift, you didn't make that 80% of the cost of the renovation. Maybe I think they only made like maybe 10%. But there's really no risk because at the end of the day, you can negate that market shift with the profit. So it's not like you can really lose money in this situation unless you have a 30% drop overnight.
I like how you see that, where you're like, oh, okay, well, there has to be room for a flipper to make money. So in a market where there's room for a flipper to make money, I could even make some mistakes and probably still come through all right. But now you're in this position where you're seeing renos for resale over and over again. Talk to me about how you see the most valuable renovations. What do you think is the biggest return on investment, having done the amount that you've done?
Well, so here's the thing, like nobody wants to do anything now. The cost of entry to buy a house is so astronomical. It's like everything everybody can do to just save the down payment, right? So whether it's first
I
time,
want to unpack that for a second. So what you're saying is that when a house is completed, people can spend more because it's mortgage money, where they don't want to buy a property that needs work because then the renovations are going to be cash money.
you got to pay 100% of the renovations, where if you roll it into your mortgage, you can put 5% down. That's the magic. Plus, you know, it's a little different now. Like, contractors are not quite as busy as they've been in the last little while, but like for the longest time, you could not even have a contractor show up. So it's like people are hardened by hearing these horror stories of people having terrible experiences with contractors, and like, they don't even want to hire a painter. So it's like the buyer will happily write down a larger number on offer day to compensate for the fact that they don't have to do anything. They don't have to pay their cash. They just put their 5% down on the cost of the renovation and the profit. And they're happy too. Like, people's life is busy. Like, not only does the seller make money and we make money and the contractor makes money, the buyer gets a beautiful turnkey house that they absolutely love because it's professionally designed and it's turnkey. It's ready to go.
Now,
so I love
I have
how
a
this
question
packages.
on this. I mean, I know the answer because you and I, Shawn, have talked about this, but I know other people will have the question. Someone, you renovate their house and you hear that classic cliche of, well, now I don't want to move anymore because I love this house so much. How do you handle that with a client, or have you had to deal with that at all? But like, what is the like protocol for you when that comes up?
Yeah, this is a very high risk program for me.
Yeah.
So they sign what I would consider to be a predatory contract before we engage in any business activity whatsoever. It's basically a construction contract, and it states that you know, if you don't sell the house, I'm going to provide you a bill, and with that bill will be the cost of the renovations plus 20%. So I'm going to charge you whatever another contractor would, right, to facilitate a renovation. And if you don't have the money for it, which nobody does, otherwise they would just do it themselves and not pay the extra commission, then there's going to be interest at the maximum rate possible. So, I mean, we vet the people first, right? I did this once for a divorce sale, never again. So it's like, we're very choosy on who we do this for.
Is that because those people were already fighting each other, so they were totally open to fighting you?
Well, I just feel like in most divorces, one person wants it to go very well and smooth, and the other person wants to make sure that doesn't happen.
I would agree.
Thankfully, it was a smaller project. It was only like $8 or $9 grand or whatever. But I learned enough in that to be like, yep, not doing that anymore. You guys are high stress. We're not doing anything like this anymore. And crazy enough, like, that's the only one that's been a problem for me, because the house burnt down after we sold it before it closed. Yeah,
that's an experience.
Yeah, so obviously I'm giving them a bunch of leniency right now while they figure their stuff out, but like, they're fighting, and it's, yeah, there's definitely risk here, but the amount of good that comes from the program outweighs it. I went into this knowing eventually one day I'll get burned. I didn't know I'd get burned by the house burning down.
Yeah.
But, at the end of the day, they've signed a contract, they've signed a seller direction, an irrevocable seller direction for the amount of money I put into the house. Once that property is disposed of, I will be refunded my money.
Yeah, it just might be a while.
It's best suited for probate sales, to be perfectly honest. You inherit a little bungalow that, you know, a little lady was living in, and all windows and roof and furnace are all brand new, and you got mahogany trim and shag carpet. Well, you put 80 grand into that thing, and you sell it for 200 more every time.
So what do you see as being a minimum for this to make sense? Like, what's the smallest project that you would normally engage on in this?
There's no minimum. Like, we just did a row townhouse where the comparables, the way it's sat, we're suggesting about a sale of approximately 475 to 480,000 in Whitby, and we went in there. We put 15 grand into it. You know, like, she had a 3/4 finished basement, so we just put some flooring down, and now you have a fully finished basement, and painted the whole thing. Light fixtures, and we sold it for 520, and she sold it in 2 days. So,
amazing.
Yeah, Yeah, so there's no, like I said, the one that burnt down, it was only $8,000, right? But the change you can make to a house for, you know, $10,000 or $15,000 is huge.
Massive. And when you take a look at the experiences you've had so far, what would you consider to be the most common renos for resale?
So I hire a professional designer every time, and we just do exactly what she says. So when I'm selling this program, I tell people I have no idea what needs to be done. Right? We're going to hire a third party, and her job is to stay on top of this stuff. You know, where do you get your money back? Yada yada yada. But what I've learned over the years is you don't make money on renovations unless you create a turnkey product. That's where it becomes profitable. So it's like, let's say you have a dated house from the 80s or whatever, and it's like you go and put $30,000 into a kitchen. You're only going to increase the value of your home by 80% of that, I think is the number for kitchens. Bathrooms are like 70%. But like once the whole house is complete and it's turnkey and there's nothing to do, that's where you get the emotional extra. That's where you get people that bid for that turnkey product, right? So it's like there's no profit on anything until everything's done. So when we do a plan, it's all or nothing. Like I'm not interested in doing some things, picking and choosing. There's no point.
Yeah. So Andrew was telling me before about you having possibly what he's seen as being one of the strongest listing presentations. Is that right, Andrew?
Yeah, like, and we even for REM, when I can't remember when that was now, a few months back, we did it with REM, the listing presentation, and we just had him come on and basically present his listing presentation on a webinar. So I first saw him do it at CCR. He did it like on stage, and we hadn't met yet. And then I think we met. Oh no, we had met the night before over drinks, and then I saw you do it the next day.
Yeah,
and I was like, right away, that's one of the best I've ever seen, if not the best. It was just really well done, well thought out, well flowed through. And then what I personally think that most people need to have is like hard examples of exactly the results they get with specific numbers. And like a lot of people don't do that. And it was very clear, like here's the before, here's the after, here's what happened, here's all this. It's just like he walks you through it really well.
That's fantastic. What do you think? Like, what do you think the powerful parts of your listing presentation are? Do you see anything that are like the big haymaker punches there?
Yeah. So again, like we do a lot to justify the commission we charge. And that has to be clearly demonstrated in a presentation. Otherwise, people are just going to think you're crazy, right? So not only do we have clear definitions on what we do with marketing and the results you can expect with each ad, examples of our staging, and like a full video like transformation of the house, you know, before and after. I have examples in there of where people interviewed us and then they hired somebody else and then the house failed to sell, and then we got it back and we sold it successfully. So I love these tough markets because I get a bunch of listings that people fail to sell. I have all of these examples of like, hey, this guy didn't want to pay the commission. Well, he wasted 80 days and then his listing became stale. Then they came back to us and we successfully sold it. These people wanted to hire their friend and their friend failed to sell it and then we sold it. Now, the problem is in the hot markets is people don't realize that they're leaving, you know, 13% on the table. So in 2021, when the market was just booming, every single house in my area sold 12% above the asking price, but our houses sold 25% above the asking price. And my average list price is the same as the average list price in the area. So it's not like I'm listing houses 5 or 6 or 10% lower to obtain that 25% over asking. It's because we prep the house and make it perfect. And you sell that turnkey product that everybody wants and you're making extra money. So the flip side of that is I don't get those houses that fail to sell. They just get their 12% over asking. They're like, hey, I sold my house in 1 hour. I'm happy. Everything's great. Little do they know they just lost $150,000 or whatever.
We see it all the time. Like in hot markets, I know a whole bunch of agents that go and hunt property on their own, and they just like do very little spruce up and then bring it back to the market and make a bunch of money.
Well, the amount of times I heard the last few years, and it obviously shifted in the last 18 months, people are like, I don't need to advertise the listing. I just have to put a sign up and it's going to sell. And you're like, yeah, but like there's like one, you need to make more for your clients. Like you're not doing enough for them. But if you're also just saying, oh, I can just put it on and it's going to sell right away, I don't have to do anything, you're also, selfishly speaking, missing out on all the clients you can get from having a great listing out there that can attract more business. So you're, one, hurting your clients, but you're also hurting your own business taking that approach. And we've seen that a ton across the board.
That stuff makes me crazy. In a hot market, anybody can sell a house, right?
You do.
It's not about selling the house. It's about getting the most money. That's a very different assignment.
Yeah. How many posts have we seen like, sold this house in 1 hour? Like, you need to tell me that you believe you found the person willing to pay the most for this product in 1 hour. There's a reason we hold back offers, so we get adequate exposure to make sure everybody has a chance to see it, to know who is going to pay the most for this thing, right?
Yeah, you effectively found the fastest offer, not the highest offer.
Which for some clients, they prefer that. Like, we can't discount there are some situations where a client would rather just not get the highest price and just say, I need this off. But most people aren't that.
Not necessarily by measurement of lights and sirens. Like, like I'm not talking about like 7 minutes or less, or even like pizza at 30 minutes or less. Very few people have urgency that means that you can't do a great 4-day opening weekend and get a strong result.
Yeah, and you couple that with like some premium online marketing. So like Andrew does all of our ads, we hit tens of thousands of people between Facebook and Google per week. And they're all people that are demonstrating online behavior that may make a move. So, you know, you can confidently sell a house after it's been on the market for a week and you know you've hit 30, 40,000 people with your ads. And then, but not in 1 hour. Yeah,
I agree.
Let's hit a question. We have Al Sadeghi. I think I might be saying that right.
Close.
He came in and he wants to know how we collectively see the rate change from the Bank of Canada next week. So one, what do you think it's going to do? And the second is, what do you think that will affect?
I think we're gonna get a small cut. I don't think it's gonna be like 0.25, like, right? Like, it's gonna be a small. I don't think it'll change much.
So
I think we need a big
cut. A quarter down.
Yeah, I think you need a big cut to see it change the market.
And Shawn, do you think it's going to change?
Yeah, I think it's going to go down. I don't know. If you look at rates when they went up historically, the faster they went up, the faster they came back down. Right. So I think we're going to see a 0.25 this time. And then I think that's going to be enough to spur some activity in my area anyway. I've actually noticed a shift in the last week of buyer activity. So is my ISA. And yeah, I think you see 2 rate decreases in a row and people are gonna be like, okay, we're on the path now. It's time to get in. We must be at the bottom or very close to the bottom. But I also think there's more pain to come for some people, but like the universe has to balance out. So for every one person that's hurting because of high rates, there's somebody else that is ready to buy in a great deal.
Yeah, I agree. I think
the fall will be pretty, like, I think that'll be the more telling one, is what happens in the fall.
I think it's going to be like a bump like they normally do. They meet, they make a move, they watch it till the next meeting, they move again. And that way they cover half a point, one now, again in September. That double movement will signal what Shawn's talking about. A lot of people will be like, oh, okay, we're on the downside. I don't think the actual money difference is what affects them more than they don't feel as worried about it.
Yeah. You don't want
to saw rates rising. Yeah, when we saw rates rising, people weren't worried about the rate they were at right now. They were worried that it was going to go to 18%.
Yeah.
And I know that we have to lower rates because we're going to start running into like productivity problems because we brought in so many new people that like our productivity per citizen is really low. And there's so much migration right now that those people that are in transition are normally not like in a productive situation. So I think that this is going to be something that we do need, and they are going to go down. But real estate effect, people spend their money in advance. Like that's where their mindset works. Their money, like how they spend, seems to be like futuristic. So I think that the people that see that it is trending down are already in the market right now. It's not like the day after the rate changes, they gain active, they become active. They just see it coming.
No.
Yeah. Well, and everybody lives in the monthly payment, right? They just want to make sure it's not going to go up anymore. And I don't know, my views on real estate, like longer term than just right now, is like, I don't know, people have to understand what we have it good in Canada. It doesn't feel that great right now. I will admit, you know, like cheese is up 600%. Nobody wants to pay an extra 600% on cheese.
But everybody wants cheese.
Yes, but you can live without cheese. As awful as that would be, you cannot live without a house. So when you look at the cost of real estate in the 20 most expensive cities around the world, the average wage is the same. Hong Kong, this price per square foot is 4.5 times what ours is. So life gets worse. People have to cut back on luxuries, travel, the type of car they drive. All of this spending that we're really like, oh, this is super expensive. Most of it does not affect our debt servicing. So it's like everybody's getting raises. You know, all the nurses and cops and firefighters and everything, they got like anywhere from a 10 to 14% raise over 3 years. And that is going to help them get a higher pre-approval. And most people spend their pre-approval. So it's like, I bet you we haven't actually seen inflation affect real estate yet. And I know everybody's like, well, life is so expensive now, blah, blah, blah. It's all non-essential stuff that we're talking about here. Housing is essential. So it's like the price is going to be whatever the price is. And now your higher wage is going to get you a higher pre-approval, which is going to put pressure on prices going up. That's my opinion.
I see it being quite interesting to kind of zoom out overall. Like, I agree. It's not just cheese. Cost of food in general is up. Cost of fuel is up. I actually think that that's going to go way up when you take a look at where demand's coming from right now. So we'll see how these moves make sense. But man, the rise in interest rate in 2022 made everybody change location. Like migratory routes have totally changed. People are leaving places they were flocking to during COVID.
No.
They're coming to places that they were leaving. Like my city's on fire right now with how many people are moving here. Yeah. What's the vibe when it comes to where you are right now? Like boots on the ground, are you seeing a lot of people leave the province?
Yeah. And I don't blame them. If I was just starting out now, I'd be going to Alberta in a second. They have a higher average wage and you keep much more of your money due to taxation. The city, I don't think, like in Calgary, for example, should not be half the cost of Toronto per square foot. You know, you're an hour away from the mountains. Toronto is an hour away from Toronto. So, like, do you know what I mean? It's like, so you have colder weather, but you have 333 days of sun.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's appealing to a lot of people because I know quite a few have done this. And year like 2017, I even looked at it. I just couldn't talk my wife into it. Is you can sell a GTA home that you bought years ago and go be mortgage free or almost mortgage free in the Maritimes or Alberta, right? Or Saskatchewan, places like that. Like you can completely dump all of it. Like I was looking at moving to Calgary and I would have had a massively upgraded home with a view of the mountains, and my mortgage payment at the same amount would have been completely paid off in 5 years.
Yeah.
Like it's a huge attractive bonus. Like I know I have some staff that have just made that, like they made the move to New Brunswick. Like they were just like, makes way more sense, get a better house, better lifestyle, better everything. And I can just live out there.
We're definitely seeing it when people show up here. They think that Edmonton is like buy one, get one free. Like, yeah, we're going to buy they're talking about bundles. They're like, yeah, we're going to buy a place to live in, maybe a couple of rentals. You guys have cabins?
Family compound.
Yeah. So the way people act going from Ontario to Edmonton, right? there are people immigrating here from cities where they get to Toronto and they're like, wow, this is cheap.
Totally.
It's the same thing. So like, yeah, so I got into real estate because I was a real estate investor. Like, I bought my first rental house when I was 19. I used to be a freight train conductor, and I went to a free beer and wings seminar because I love beer and wings. And buddy convinced me to buy a house, and I rented it out. And then I realized I was making more money owning my rental houses than I was working 60 hours a week, and I got into real estate. So what I learned was, like, you guys have to understand, Oshawa is like the armpit of the GTA. We're a GM town. Yeah. If you are leaving the center of the city, you're going to go to Burlington before you come to Oshawa, because they had 2 major highways and it's just nicer, right? But eventually you hit a ceiling of affordability, and then it's like, do I want to buy a house in Oshawa or rent in Burlington? Okay, Oshawa it is. Here we go. And then we caught up. So like, we had some insane price gains, years of 25% or more. You guys are probably getting 20% these years now, right? But like multiple years. And like, I made millions of dollars just holding real estate because of it. And I see that in Alberta, because I don't think you should be, Calgary, for example, should be half the price of Toronto. I think they were just stigmatized because they, the oil and gas sector, took a beating 10 years ago or whatever. And now everyone's like, it's an oil and gas city and that's all there is there, but it's not true. They've diversified. So like, I'm highly considering selling my entire portfolio here and buying out there.
Well, when it comes to like Calgary, Edmonton's historically been about $100,000 difference. So just like you were talking about Burlington, there's lots of reasons to choose Calgary over Edmonton. That gateway to the mountains is the biggest one. The distance to the mountains allows for more Chinook, so you end up with these milder winters, but a little bit more extreme weather. But what we're talking about is a Toronto distance. Like, from Edmonton to Calgary is 3 hours.
Yeah.
And in Edmonton, normally a typical house here was $100,000 away from a typical house in Calgary. But since COVID, benchmark pricing, a typical house in Edmonton, yay, we're about to break $450,000. And Calgary is about to break $700,000.
Which is not even a townhouse here now.
Yeah, so like Edmonton is just poised to make that gain, because right now Calgary is making news about their affordability in relation to places like Vancouver and Toronto.
Yeah. So you'll be next. You're the next logical place for people to go.
You cannot believe how excited I am. Like, yeah. I was in a market here where there was one buyer for 11 condo sellers. I was in a market here where for almost 10 years, real estate went down every single year. Most of my career, months of inventory has been close to 6.
Wow.
It's finally our turn.
Mm-hmm. And in Toronto, like I was joking about with some people recently, it's like, if someone's been in the industry for 10 years in the GTA, the house not selling is almost never on the table, right? Like there is the unique
listings for very long.
Yeah, like there are some scenarios where yes, a house, but like their bigger issue is finding the right place for their buyer. Like, can they get it the buyer in quick enough, because we have to work with buyers so long to find the right place.
Convince people to sell first. It's like nearly impossible, even right now where there is more inventory and everything. Like, guys, you should really sell first, because we don't know exactly what prices are. But like, there's so much fear on people not finding houses from all the past years of like multiple offers. That like, no, I honestly, I try to scare them. I try to do everything like, please sell your house first. I promise you we will find something. There's tons on the market. No, not going to happen.
No,
I've never not sold a house. Actually, every listing I've ever taken has been sold.
Yeah, well, I think GTA the last arguably 15, 20 years, as long as you're not crazy on price, and especially not crazy on condition, everything will sell.
Yeah, we only creeped into a balanced market. In the 11 years I've been here, the GTA has creeped into a balanced market, maybe a total of 6 months out of that whole 11 years.
Yeah. Incredible. Because here in Edmonton, for the entire 11 years I've been in real estate, I've seen it below a balance into a seller's advantage in 2013, 2014, 21, 22, 23, and now. The rest of it were all buyers, and some of it were so severe it was like 6 months of inventory, or almost like a double buyer's market.
Right.
And in that case, we would always do it the other way around. Like, we'd be like, oh man, you're going to have to take a beating on your sale. Let's just go and do this. We're going to take a small beating, but you guys are going to buy up market. So you're going to go and give a bigger beating up market. And I think that many people in the Ontario markets need to help families understand that a buyer's market is for them. They're upgrading. If you're buying more than you're selling, you are a buyer. This market's for you.
Yeah. I try to explain to people that, you know, like, because a lot of people's like mentality is like, oh, I just want to wait till my house is worth more. Okay, so you want to wait till your house is worth more so you can pay me more. You can pay more land transfer tax. The market moves on a percentage basis. So if you're going from $1 million house to a $2 million house and the market goes up 10%, it's going to cost you an extra $100,000 in purchase price to get that $2 million house. Like, the worse the market is, the better it is to buy. And it's like, you know your house is going to sell. So do you want to go out and drag people around for 6 months and do 7 offers to win one? You fall in love with 6 houses and lose them, and then you settle on the 7th one. I see it every time. They just get fatigued and they're like, oh, this one's good enough. Like, you don't have to do that now. So your house takes a month to sell instead of 1 week. Who cares? So that's what you're going to get to experience coming up here, or you already are, I guess.
Yeah, we're just moving into it. My last 2 listings were 16 and 18 offers, and broke the records for our bedroom communities at 16% over list price.
Now it's time to build your case studies, man.
So how are you handling your offers?
With a multiple offer process that I designed with a couple agents in hot markets. Like, I was helping an agent that was in the top 10 in Canada that's in Toronto. And I was helping another agent that's a ranking agent out of Virginia, and we developed their multiple offer strategy during COVID. They like hired me as a consultant, but the cool thing is that now I get to build mine, and I have last kick of the can. I've been hanging out with some of the best agents and helping them build things during some of the hottest markets, and just waiting for it to come my way.
Yeah, I appreciated what you did in the fall, where you came to Toronto to learn how people did this, to bring that back to Edmonton.
Yeah, I brought my whole team. We hosted masterminds. We bombed my buddies' team meetings. Like, we walked into the offices of some of the top agents in some of the hottest markets and said, hey, listen, we're ready to make a trade. We have some of the best hard market tactics that come from a place that's way more frozen than you've ever seen. And we're willing to trade for low inventory strategies. So let's see
how would you handle 16 offers?
What's that?
How do you handle your offers then when you get 16 or 20 or whatever?
So the first thing is that we have metrics to know when we're going to hold for offers. So we don't announce we're holding for offers in advance. We want to have people start to come in and engage us right out of the gate. So we're cued to announce that we're holding for offers not until we catch the first offer. And we just try to talk people into being that first offer. And then once we start to build offers, then we officially let people know that we're pending, but we never put it on the listing. The idea is that we want to pull more in. And we're actually having 2 agents work this listing. So we have one agent that's a listing agent, and then we have another agent that's called a multiplier agent. And that agent is there to help anybody who is like close to writing an offer on the other side and represent them as a buyer, because we won't have a single teammate represent the buyer and seller to any property ever. And then as the offers are coming in, we start to tell people we're going to give them updates. Like in this case, we were holding until Monday at 4, and we make a G sheet that we can then share with our clients so they can see the offers coming in, stacking up, positioning against each other. And then we go through that day of Monday updating agents. So the first thing we do is update them to let them know, like, hey, if you're going to make an offer, please confirm. And we talk to everybody who's shown the property or shown interest in it, and we get our list. And then we send out the number of offers that we have and who they're from, and we give updates almost hourly throughout the day. This is to like really raise the noise and get a lot of attention. And also, agents seeing other agents' names beside the number of offers causes a whole bunch of ego reaction. Like if it was an agent that you just lost to, you're now in it to win it. If it was the top agent in the neighborhood, you're now in it to win it. As we get closer to offer presentation time, that's when we're going to do our final update. And just like the first round of poker, that's when we ask if anybody wants to revise. Almost every single time we will get at least one revision, but then we notify everyone. One agent has decided to revise. Would you also like to revise? And we work through them all, and then we'll normally get like 3 or 4 revisions. After that, we present offers to our clients, and we ask our clients to select the top 3. Our clients select the top 3, and then I make this call. If I was calling you, Shawn, it would look like this. Like, hey, Shawn, thanks so much for bringing an offer. I just want you to know that you wrote a great offer. This is like right over the mark. My clients are reviewing it right now. You're one of the top 3. We're going to have an answer for you in about 30 minutes. But if there's anything that you want to do to step out ahead, now's the time. And then those top 3 offers will often like step out and show us the best that we can see. In fact, I had an offer jump over $12,000 to that phone call this weekend and take it. And that was it. We were out the door.
Outside of the top 3, are you sending them anything at that point?
Normally there's such a disparity because like basically most people shopping in $25,000 increments. Yeah. So if you take a property and you see that the comparables are showing around, like in my market, let's say that it's showing around 500. That means that most agents that have clients pre-approved for 475 won't show that property. But what if we took that list price and put it at 450? Now we're going to get uninformed buyers that make offers at 450. We're going to get uninformed buyers that make offers at 475, that pre-approval pool. And then we're going to have offers that are coming in and around the 500 range, normally from top agents that are using more market information than list price to guide their clients. And those are going to be our winners, right? We know that those are going to be our winners, but they're motivated on how much they advise their client to spend based on the total number of offers. So these offers that are out of the 450 pool and the 475 pool, we call those packing peanuts. They are only there to bump up the top offers. And then instead of selling among the comparables, we will actually outsell the comparables. And in both of these examples this last weekend, it was like 2.5% outperformance.
So I would add to that though, like once you select the top 3, send an email being like, you guys weren't close. We're now working. Like I worded it better than this, but massage that word a bit, because I have seen this with clients in like the GTA when the market was really hot, where they've done that. And then one of those people came out of nowhere with a massive increase on their offer because they were just testing.
Almost all of ours in multiple offers, if I get 15, 20 offers or whatever, I would end up selling it to one of the worst offers that they've done. So a lot of agents
using that same move.
Little different. So like what I would do is basically say, in a roundabout way, we had a 3-way tie. You're not in it. I got to wait for them. They're all making improvements. If you guys want to make improvements too, here's your chance. And then you just throw a flying haymaker, like, because the people at the top, they've probably been in it enough. This probably isn't their first rodeo. They're already coming in with their best foot forward. So you can't squeeze another drop out of them. Mm-hmm. But the people on the bottom, they're just starting out and they probably have more room in their budget. Well, I would say 75% of the time we have multiple offers with like 20 people. It would be one of the bottom offers that I would sell to.
Yeah, don't write those ones off. You'd be surprised at how often they jump back in with a big number.
Yeah, they're kind of like information. Because as I said, we're just getting into this. I worked with some top agents. I feel like we've got a good game, but this is definitely an improvement.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like every single person, it's like, hey, I gotta wait for one of these 3 guys to do their thing. Like, just so you know, you got another chance here. You're not in the running, but I would tell them like you're not even close.
Yeah. You got to come up big. But we're working directly with the other 3 right now because you're so far off. And once in a while, you get those jumps.
More often than not, to be perfectly honest. And like usually, like the top 3, they don't even do any better because they're the ones that like we got one shot here. I've already done it. Like they come in at their max.
Interesting, because like this was the case where one of those top three actually definitely outrun the other one, and it was conditionless, so that was like super desirable. But we're just getting into that right now, so I don't even know that our top three are Blood from a Stone yet. Like, imagine this being the Wild Wild West and being like maybe a decade behind what you've seen.
Well, and think like we started with that too, 15, 20,000 above asking. It ended up being 200.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. That's
like
the people that I was working with. They were selling stuff at $1 million. They were pricing it at 900, and they were selling it at 1.3.
Yeah, so like we would. I had one client in 2016 or 17 or whatever, before the stress test, so 2016. And she's like, my house is worth 700. It's the same model as the neighbors, and they got 700. My kid went through multiple offers, and it was terrible. And I'm not playing that stupid game, because I told her you need to list your house at 600, and we'll sell it at 7. She said, no, I'm not playing that stupid game. And I said, no problem. It's your listing. We'll facilitate it as you like, but my advice is to list at 600. 2 weeks went on. No one would come to see it, because everybody just assumed every single house sold $100,000 above the asking price. So now she's competing with $800,000 houses, and everyone's like, "That's a ripoff. You want 800? I ain't paying that." So we were on the market for 2 weeks. No one came to see it. I'm like, she calls me up in a panic because of course she bought first, and she's like, "Oh, should we lower it to 680? Like, is the market changing?" I'm like, "No, you should lower it to 600." So we did, and it sold for 720.
Sometimes you can't even get what you're asking for.
Yeah. No, it's somebody come in there and offered her 650. She was ready to take it. And I'm like, you got to play the game.
Yeah. Like, it's the same with staging, right? Like I love this example from Phil Jones that he used when he talks about selling the pen. Have you ever seen this one that he does with the pen? It's one of the best examples. So he just holds up a pen like this. He's like, how much would you guys pay for this pen? Most people are like $1. He goes, and all right, now I'm going to put it on a pillow on top of a column in the middle of the aisle instead of just like this pile of pens over here. How much would you pay for it now? And most people are like, I don't know, like $3, $4, $5. Okay, so now I'm going to put it in a glass case with spotlights on it and music playing. How much you pay? They're like, I don't know, like $10, $15. You're like, why? It's the same damn pen. All we did is change how they're perceiving it.
Yeah.
And it's like that same idea with, you have to take that into account. And most people don't do that, right? Like they're not looking at all those pieces there of how like the mentality, and that's the same thing with like bidding wars, is their mentality is just as important of like what they're used to doing in their market.
And that was the mistake of Shawn's client, is that she wanted to approach a negotiation as though it was a game of logic, but it's a game of perception. Very different.
Well, like in our area, so like where I am in Newmarket, kind of the norm was 5% of the purchase price is your deposit. But just north of us, like the norm was like $500. And it became a very like big thing when like Toronto agents would come and they'd start being like, here's a $50,000 deposit. Or when those agents would come down to help someone down here, and they're trying to compete on a multiple offer situation with a $500 deposit. And what happens a lot of the times is sometimes what wins your bid versus the other when they're close is a bigger deposit. Even though it doesn't change what ends up in their pocket at the end, I've seen a lot where, you know, if they're relatively equal in terms, you're taking one with the $100,000 deposit versus the $5,000 deposit or the $20,000 deposit.
I have personally won 2 separate houses, $40,000 below the number one price with $100,000 deposits. Yeah.
That's my favorite Shawn Hinchey video. My favorite Shawn Hinchey video is talking about by improving the deposit on your listing or on your offer, it is effectively a free way to improve your offer.
It is.
Like
you're gonna pay it anyway.
Yeah. There's not a lot, like as long as you're intending to close, like there is no real harm. And even if you don't close, like say that happens, like you're not just losing the deposit, like they can still sue you for the difference anyways.
You gotta agree to give it to them, which is so stupid the way deposits work. Yeah. To me, you don't close on the day you say, that money should go directly to the seller and you should still be liable for damages. Yeah. That's my opinion, because
that's the way it is in many of the states.
Is it? It should be like that.
Oh man, like how long is your purchase agreement? Mine's like 7 or 8 pages.
6.
Yeah, in the state of Maine, it's 56 pages. In Atlanta, I think it's 40 and change. And like everybody's litigious, and deals make it and break it at the last minute at the closing table all the time. Like it's just the Wild West. It's unbelievable.
Well, can't most of the states, they can walk away from a deal up till the day of closing, do they not?
That's what I mean. Is that they can find ways to have disputes and to essentially like and what they call deposits is earnest money. And that escrow process is a whole other thing. But
You gotta
I'm so
push for a
glad
lot
we don't
quicker
have that.
closings there, basically, then, right? That
Yep.
must be what
And
they do, is they push for fast closings.
it's an aggressive market. It's so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I like those little differences. Like, because here, like, whether it's 30 days, 90 days, it's more like what's more convenient for the two. It's not about, okay, we got it. Like, the only time I see people here push for quick closings is like it happened in 2017. Then again, when the market dipped again, is like January, February, when the market's really hot, you can start to see that, oh, the market's going to shift. These people might not close because they're buying, and you know it's the peak. Like 2017 in February, I knew that was the peak, and I was like trying to convince my wife, like, if we're gonna do this out west, we got to go now. This is
Yeah.
coming down in like 3 months. The prices will be lower. Sure enough, they went down. We didn't sell, but like those scenarios, you gotta try and get a quick closing, because if the appraisal goes down, then you want to make sure that they're locked in. You don't want the bank coming back at the last minute being like, yeah, we're not funding them.
Well, for those people that are kind of looking around, they definitely want to know that if they're thinking about real estate in Oshawa, they got to think about Shawn Hinchey, right? Like, obviously, you have a great referral network already, but I think that there's a lot of agents out there that are really interested in what you're doing around renovation for resale and so on. And that's also something that is going to basically ignite a bunch of people. It did for me as well. You know, we had a great phone call talking about that.
Like, you can't be an I seller. Like the tech companies can't do what we do. You know what I mean? If they ever happen to figure out how to crack the code so you can buy a house online and cut out our commission or half our commission or whatever, like, I'm still gonna have a job because I'm gonna be prepping houses in the same capacity. I'm still gonna be charging my commission, and I'm still gonna be making people money. Because like my services are free. They're actually, I just make the money. You go, hey, sell my house, and I go, sure, I'll do all the work. Plus, here's 50 grand. Right? It's literally, yeah, it's free. So it future proofs your job. There's a lot of moving parts to it. The main thing I got to figure out right now, and I was telling you this, Taylor, is financing, because I use my own money in this. It's like I have hundreds of thousands of dollars out all the time, and I prefer not to do that. So I'm going to be looking for some financing options.
Absolutely.
No, we'll talk.
Or sometimes, like, you know, you just need to adjust to demand and change some pricing. It could be that having $100,000 out puts a smile on your face.
That's true.
Well, thank you so much for everybody joining us. This is the REM, the Leads Are Shit podcast. With the legend Andrew. Just got back from the Sphere. How's the Sphere?
Really cool. Like, if you get a chance to go see something there, like I just went to like one of the videos they had, and because it's not just the big screen, right? Like they time wind in your face with when the camera's moving through the environment, and like, and your seats vibrate. Like at one point they did this thing where they went over a cliff, and like you had that brief moment. If you're looking at the center of the screen, your entire peripheral vision is the screen. That you almost had that like, oh crap, I'm about to, like, it was that immersive at points.
Wow. Here in Las Vegas?
Yeah.
So I know the guy who has the proprietary technology for that. I like to race cars, and I met him a few track days ago. He has like it's called a Revolution race car. They're pretty amazing, and the guy's a billionaire, super cool. But like he sold every single LED in that entire sphere, and the technology to tie it all together is his. He's from Montreal.
It's a really, really well. I mean, once you go through it, and like they even just did a good job with the interior, where like you get your drinks and stuff. But like, it is a really well done experience. I would love like 3 years from now, once they've really perfected it, to like see like the best musician who has the time to do it. Like if they ever give someone like one of the top people a long-term residency in the Sphere, I would love to see that show.
Right.
Right. Because like right now it's like people will come for like a show to do it. So they're not necessarily going to invest the same amount as if like they're dropping 50 million on, like, let's say hypothetically at the top, they took Taylor Swift and said, hey, you're going to spend a year in Vegas in the Sphere.
Just going to lock you in this giant ball.
What that show would look like.
Here's $5 billion.
Yeah. It's like, it's also Biodome. You got to live there.
Yeah.
You could just do the live view from the outside. So my hotel room though looked onto the Sphere, so it's weird to like wake up in the morning, he's like little emoji staring at you. But other than that, it was awesome.
That's awesome. And it's cool that you mentioned that you know the guy that did the technology. That's the neatest thing I've found about having like a North America wide real estate network, is like everybody lives somewhere and almost all of them use real estate agents. So, you know, the connection to everybody.
Actually, I was on a call yesterday with probably going to become a JSH client. I won't mention his name, but former Jays player. So here's just he's now down in Florida selling homes there. And I was like, because I got on the call and I was like, why do I know this guy's name? I got on the call, sure enough, right behind him his Jays jerseys framed. I was like, that's why. There we go.
Well, I want to respect your time, Shawn, and yours, Andrew. Great to see you guys today. Shawn, you going to join us again?
Yeah, anytime, guys.
Yeah, and we'll reach out for September. We'll grab dinner when Taylor's in town.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
All right. Looking forward to it.
All right, guys. See ya.